All right, first up today, something we just sold is, we wrote gorgeous, because it really is. It's a vintage Baltic amber. So this item here, I'm going to click on it so you can see, is just a sterling silver, pretty complicated, kind of ornate necklace here. Amber is the stone. There's a big collector market for amber, actually. And it's a pretty little piece. Just found this at a thrift store. I think that they thought it was just simply costume jewelry, but it actually was made of silver. We tested it. It was not marked. Actually, that's not true. You can see right here on the corner right here, 925. They didn't see that. They had it priced really reasonably. I took a best offer. I sold it for $200, but I only spent $5 on it. And so that was a really, really nice sale. This was a cool item. I got this from a private jewelry collection that I purchased, and the individual didn't know exactly what it was, and I didn't know exactly what it was right when I saw it. It looks like cinnabar, but it's not cinnabar. It's more of like I think it was a wood base that this kind of resin, carved resin stuff was on the outside of it and painted to look like cinnabar. But you can see, as you open this up, it was this like carrying case, this stackable carrying case, not unlike larger ones that you could put food in different layers or different levels. This would have been just to carry around and carry, I don't know, change or medicine. I'm not exactly sure what, because it's really small containers, but really cool. It's an Asian piece. I don't know if it's Japanese or if it's Chinese. That's just my ignorance there. But all that to say, I had it up. It sold within 2 weeks. I kept lowering the price. I ended up taking a best offer of $160 for it. And I think I was about $20 in to that piece. It's not something you're going to find all that often just out in the wild, but I was happy to get that because it's unusual, it's different. I like getting odd or bizarre things, or even just rare things. Next up we have this, it's just a scrap jewelry lot. Honestly, it could have all been worn. There was nothing broken in there. I sold this. When you're selling something that's gold filled versus gold plated, gold filled means that there's actually pure gold, a layer on the outside of it, and it'll oftentimes will say what percentage and what carat weight. So these were of various 10 karat gold, 12 karat gold, 14 karat gold. Usually it'll say like 1/10 or 1/20th is the ratio of how much gold to the base metal it is. And I usually get about $1 per gram or something like that. I wanted this to sell quickly, so I actually lowered it below that a little bit. You can see I sold it for $178. If you have, 500 grams of gold-filled jewelry, that's kind of a good benchmark. Like around $500 is probably what, if you want to sell it quickly, put it for less than that, and you'll sell it pretty darn fast. Bakelite. If you're not aware, this is an old type of plastic. It has ammonia in it. There's a way to test with certain polishes that will turn color, and a certain color, semi-chrome polish is what we use. I could have maybe even sold this for double what I sold it for, but again, I was just trying to move stuff. Took a best offer of $55, so $3 less than this. Not a bad gig, but I paid $3 for it. The difficult part with Bakelite, unless you're very well versed in it, is that you can't test it when you're in the store looking at it. You just have to kind of make an educated guess as to what it's actually made out of. But it could be made out of lucite or other old plastics, which are varying levels of collectability. But this was a really cool brooch here. It was carved out. It was red. It's quite large, quite heavy. And somebody, 29 grams there worth. But I paid $2 for this. Just costume jewelry, but it just happens to be Bakelite. I tested it when we got back. This was a cool piece. You don't see them all that often. I think they call it a figa or a fika, something like that, which is like this hand. This is very popular in like the late 1800s and the early 1900s into the teens. And I guess it means good luck. And so this was made, go back, this was made to be like the end of like a pocket watch chain, or this is like the end of a fob that would be attached to something. And it's sterling silver, and that's why you've got that tarnishing on there. But I just think it's a cool look. It's not something that people make nowadays. But I got that for, I think $8 is what I paid for that. I would have loved to have had the chain with it, but I didn't. And this sold for right around $55. This next one came in the antique store buyout that I did not long ago with a variety of other antiques. This is very heavy. Probably between 20 and 30 pounds. It's entirely cast iron, and it is like in Victorian era, so we're talking late 1800s, early 1900s, umbrella stand. So it would sit, near the entryway of a home, and people would come in, they could drop off their umbrella into that. It holds it straight up and down, and it has kind of this tray at the bottom so that water could collect in that and not go on people's hardwood floors. And then that could be that piece actually at the bottom here. Let's see if I don't think I show that, but this part right down here actually is like a tray. It lifts up and moves. And so it's a really cool thing. Again, not something you see all that often. It'd be awesome in a person's home if they're going for something that style, that old style. Got $200 for that, plus shipping was $60 because it's stinking heavy. This was another large collection that I bought a while back. It's a very large rock and mineral specimen collection. It ranges from full, like just completely rough, like agate or, things that are in just like a fully rough form that could be cut into to look at them, like geodes and things like that, all the way down to smaller specimens of semi-precious gemstone minerals like sapphires, rubies, and in this case, what they call a Mexican fire, like a fire opal. So if you, most opals you think of are white, iridescent white. They've got reds and greens and blues. Oftentimes, the more red, the more valuable, or black opals that have still that iridescent color, but the underlying color is not as much of a milky white. It's more of like a really dark background. But in this case, there are opal that are different colors, and this is like a reddish orange, and I mean it's incredibly bright, as you can see whenever the light comes through it. And these are rough specimens. This is a 13.8 carat piece. Now to cut this, and this is also facet grade, meaning you wouldn't just have to cut like a cab out of this. You could actually cut straight edges and set this down into jewelry, rings or earrings or necklaces. And so it's a really awesome specimen, and just a unique piece. You don't come across these all that often, and I got gobs of them in this lot. And so this is just one. It was a little bit of a larger size, 13.8 carats. If you're going to cut this out of a facet, you may lose 40, 50, even 60% of that carat weight. But even if you lost 50%, you cut this down, you're looking at a 6 to 7 carat fire opal, which could be quite valuable if set in jewelry like silver or gold. So $50, my guess is that the person that bought this is somebody who makes jewelry, or maybe they just wanted a specimen. That's the cool thing about these rocks and minerals, is that sometimes people buy them because they want to put them in jewelry, and other times they just want to put them in their collection or up in the spot, to just be viewed. I don't like to buy and sell a lot of ceramics, particularly not like large sets of dinnerware, bowls, plates, and things, because of how fragile they are, how much space they take up, how much time it takes to wrap them carefully, and how risky it is to ship it and it not get damaged in shipping, not get broken. Because if I sell like this was like 20 or 30 some pieces. If even one piece breaks, you have one issue, they want to return the whole thing, or they want a partial refund, and you have to figure out how you're going to do that. But this was this is the Lenox brand, which Lenox, as far as plateware, they made lots of different designs, different colors. Some of them are quote-unquote retired, or they don't make them anymore, and so they're still fairly collectible. People will buy them also to use because they want that vintage look, and other times they just collect the stuff. But this particular lot sat up for about a month, sold it for $275. So 27 pieces, $275. Something like this is going to take me a solid 30 to 45 minutes to package up. And so, I have to figure out, is it worth my time to spend that much time? Like, how much money would I make if I spent that time just listing items versus just packaging something up? So, I do this for a living. This is not a part-time thing. So if I was just getting extra income, it might be completely different. I'd be really happy. But whenever I have, tens of thousands of items, which I do have, left even to list into our eBay stores, sometimes I have to kind of consider what I want to do. Now, this, guys, is something I think is really cool. I love to buy and sell jewelry for a number of reasons. It's highly collectible. It almost always sells. It's not going to sit up there for ages and ages, and unless you have just a ridiculous price and you don't bring it down. But if you are willing to lower the price, eventually it'll sell. I really like old stuff from the 1700s, 1800s. These are stick pins, but this the special thing about these is that they are all made of gold. And so you're seeing various kinds here. My favorite one, man, is the cane. I've never come across one like that before. The handle is made of gold. It's got a cool scroll work on it. It had enamel paint on the stick portion. But you've got opals here. You've got sapphires. You've got pearls. Just solid gold pieces, turquoise and pearl. Really pretty. I mean, it was just a cool thing. I mean, I don't wear jewelry. I have a ring I wear because I am married. But aside from that, I'm not interested in wearing it. It's art. There's craftsmanship that goes into that, and I love seeing the style differences at different time periods in the past. So I had this. I may have been able to sell it for higher. I had it much higher as I buy it now, and I thought, you know what, I need to move it. I need to move on. I don't need to get attached to the things that I have, because the whole point of this is to make income for myself. And so I did an auction. I was a little disappointed, to be honest with you, at the price. But again, it was about speed. It was about getting rid of it. But $189, you should know, if you don't, that if you're looking out and you see stick pins, sometimes they're made of gold and they may not be marked. A lot of these were not marked. I only knew that because I scratch test things that I suspect are made of gold and silver. This was a cool little lot. These were like tiny little picture frames. Little round picture, like maybe a couple, 2 inches, 2.5 by 2.5, something like that. But they were made of sterling silver, and they say it on the front in the paper, but if you didn't have that paper, you look along the edge and you can see that it's marked for sterling as well. So 925 parts out of 1,000 silver. I accepted an offer for $40, but I bought these, I think, for maybe $2 a piece. So I was $4 in, and I felt really good about that. This was another thing. At one time, I had an entire collection of all of the original Star Wars figures with their weapons. The coolest little collection. And it would have been cool to display and hold on to, but it was worth like around $4,000 or $5,000. And so I sold it. I don't regret selling it, but it was really fun to amass the collection. It took me about 6 months to do so. And this was some stuff left over. It was not a part of the original collection, but I still had some good quality figures left without their weapons. And this one was just R2-D2, C-3PO. It looks like this was the C-3PO that has detachable limbs, but I'm not exactly sure on that. 1977 to 1983 was the period of time when the original movies came out and the figures were made for those. And these are all pretty good condition, not like impeccable condition, but I took a best offer for $40. It's $20 a figure. That's pretty darn good, because a lot of times if you're buying them in bulk, you're really looking at the $5 to $7 per figure. You don't really want to spend more than that if you want to end up actually, parting them out and selling them individually and making money. A couple of the things, I would say that the 3 categories of items that I am most interested in and love to look for and buy are antique artwork, particularly oil paintings, musical instruments, specifically vintage Gibson and Martin and Guild brands, and then, as I said already, costume and fine jewelry. And so about a month and a half ago at an estate sale, I came across some instruments that I bought, and I got, paid a very little amount of money. I think I paid $500 for this particular Gibson. It's a like an archtop semi-hollow body, or semi-hollow 1965 vintage electric guitar, and really good condition. And it even came with the original case, if I can pull this up here for you. I plugged it in. I inspected it. I've got a lot of experience. I've been selling instruments for about 20 years on eBay. I play a couple instruments, and so I'm fairly familiar with them. But this is the original chipboard, what they call chipboard case. It's not real structurally good for like supporting the instrument, but it is a case for it to be in it. It has this kind of like faux alligator skin look, but it plays really well for an instrument that has like a floating bridge. And $13.60 off of 4 bids. I was happy with that, given what I paid for it. Anytime I can find a good deal on vintage instruments, I bite, because you've got 2 options. One is you can turn around and try to sell it if you're pretty confident you can make money on it, and that's just about research what they sold for recently. And if you want to just hold on to it and play it for a while, you can do that, because vintage instruments typically go up. Some slower than others, but go up in value. So if you hold on to that, you're not going to lose value on it. You're going to eventually sell it and make even more money. Here's another guitar that I bought. I bought this off of Facebook Marketplace in my local area, and they wanted $40 for this guitar. It was really blurry pictures, so I couldn't quite tell, but I have experience with instruments. I could only barely see the insignia here in the sound hole. Let me go to this. I could tell that it was a Martin or a Sigma Martin guitar. And so I contacted her. I went over there. She was moving out of the country, needed to get rid of the stuff. It just sat in a closet. It was in pristine condition. So this is, of course, a classical guitar, but it had solid rosewood sides and backs. Really a gorgeous looking instrument. It's not exactly the style that I personally play. It was a great deal, $40, and I turned around and sold it for $345. The weird thing about this instrument, though, is that I recently, in the last week, I got out of the blue, no communication from this buyer. Out of the blue, they contacted me, or they didn't contact me, they left me a negative review on my eBay store and said, this guitar arrived in completely broken condition. This was not described. This was a ripoff. Whoa! So I contact him and I say, I'm happy to accept a return. If you have photographs of the damage, this is like it wasn't damaged before I sent it, so it would have had to have happened in transit and shipping. So do I need to contact the shipping company to try to get my insurance money back? No response. And so I sent them a thing that said, hey, will you please communicate with me on this? Would you consider revising your negative feedback, because I'll work with you. No response. So in that case, it's kind of cut and dry. I contacted eBay and I explained the situation, and within 48 hours they had removed that negative review. So I don't know what was going on with this buyer, but they had no feedback from any purchases or sales. So this is either a brand new eBay person, or this is a person who has kind of done some shady things in the past and ended up having their store taken away or dinged, and so they've started another one. That's kind of one of unfortunately that happens. There are people who want to scam you sometimes. There are people who are going to bully you. I've seen it all, folks, on eBay. So you kind of got to have thick skin a little bit if you want to do this very much on the eBay platform. I would like to say that eBay always supports me. I would say that it's kind of 50-50. Sometimes I get what I'm hoping for, and other times I'm shocked, but that's for another time. Here's a lot of watches, ladies' watches. These are all gold-filled. I think that these are all our gold-filled watches. These are all from roughly the 1940s to the 1960s watches. Some of these have diamonds in them, kind of just cheap diamonds. Some of them are just, crystal or different things. This Longinus one is probably about the best one in there. A couple of the Bolivar ones were okay, but I buy these at thrift stores and yard sales and Facebook Marketplace all the time for $2 and $3 a lot of times. And so I'm always hoping to try to get about $10. Sometimes I can get them for $1, so I can get, 3, 4, 5 times my money back, if not more than that, if I sell them individually. And usually, I accepted the best offer for $85. 35, 40, 45, so, I'm only making $2 or $3 a piece. That's okay. I wanted to move them. These were all what they call rolled gold, so they are kind of like gold filled on the outside of them. I also think watches and pocket watches particularly are just fascinating. It's amazing the craftsmanship in some of those. And then here we have one that I really thought was cool because I've never seen one like it. It's a brooch that is set up like a fan or like almost like a paddle. And as you can see, you have like these birds in here in this sort of like leaf or, you know, stem flower motif here with cool lines, very Art Nouveau, made out of copper. Unfortunately, the pin in the back was broken off. For someone who knows how to do jewelry repair, that could be done. I could have done it, I just didn't want to spend the time on it. But really cool piece, and I sold that for $64 or $65. This was a $2 pickup at a thrift store. Still pretty darn happy with that. Postcards. I didn't mention this is actually probably another category that I really think is fascinating. If you don't sell postcards or you don't know about postcards, please educate yourself. One of the other channels in the Slick Web Media family, which we're a part of, is the Rusty the Reseller channel, and he's got a ton of videos on postcards, selling them, and reasons why, things to look for. Those things include just the topic itself. This, for example, would have sold specifically because of the photograph and the topic. It's bizarre, it's old, it's a real photograph, and those sell for more than other types of postcards oftentimes. It's the subject matter, but then also there are things like, what does the message say? Is it really old? Like, what does the stamp say, the cancellation? Is there a date on it? Sometimes they can have rare or unique stamps. Sometimes they can be written by famous people. Sometimes, like, the list goes on, folks. Sometimes they are a rare set, or they were made by a particular artist that is collectible. And so if you don't know about postcards, get into them. But here's a perfect example. I took a best offer of $60 off of this, and I imagine I didn't pay more than $2 or $3 because that's about my max. I don't really, unless it's one that I may have spent more than that on this one because I could tell it was unique. But oftentimes, you know, I'm going to stay in that low amount. And that's if I'm buying them individually. Like, I have it in my hand and I'm going to buy it. If I buy things online, I'll sometimes buy lots of hundreds, if not thousands, of postcards at a time. And I don't want to spend more than 10 to 15 cents per card in that situation. Because, again, I'm not buying them to collect. I'm buying them to resell and make money. Here's another example of something that came in the antique store. I've got a lot of items in that which I would not have personally bought individually because of the size, the fragility of the piece. I'm not interested in it. I don't think that the margin will be good enough. Like, the list goes on. But as a package deal, it made sense to get it. And this is one of them. Now, no offense to anybody who likes this kind of thing. Everyone has different tastes. It's just not my personal thing. But this is, I think this was a McCoy brand. It's like a planter. It's all ceramic. It's glazed, different colors. Yeah, it's a McCoy. You can see made in the USA. That's a semi-collectible brand, depending on what it is. And this piece sold $42. I think I took a best offer of $35 actually, but they were paying for the shipping, so you know, it's just money back in my pocket from the investment I made initially, which, by the way, I had my investment money back off of that purchase. I think that was I think I paid about $4,000 for a room full of boxes of things, and there were some like gold pocket watches, and there was some jewelry, and there were some other things that were highly collectible. And I think within 2 weeks I had already done $5,500 in sales, so I already had $1,500 in profit off of that. So everything that's selling now, the cost is already taken care of, and so I have no problem accepting best offers or even continuing to lower that price. Move it, because I'm not in a rush necessarily to get the money back or even the highest price. So I could let it sit there a long time, but it takes up a lot of space, you know. Okay, this was another one of those things from the rock and mineral collection that I got. These are like little spheres. They look just like marbles, and they're like marble size, but these are actually made from raw quartz crystal. So you've seen quartz, like little pieces. Sometimes they're opaque, sometimes they're semi-translucent, sometimes they're completely translucent. These are pretty attractive because you can see through them, but they clearly have inclusions enough so you know they are, in fact, made out of crystal. They don't really make glass like this, glass marbles. The they'll do the ones with swirls, with colors and things like that. So what I've done, one piece itself is around 2.5 to 2.8 grams. And so what I'm doing is I'm selling them in lots of 10 because I have, oh man, probably 100 or more. And so every time someone buys one of these, boom, it's 18, it's, you know, it's a bunch of money that I've already made my money back. So this one was, yeah, I guess I got $18 off of this. They just wanted one quantity. So that's the other cool thing. I can list, you know, 1,000 things if it's the same item, just in one listing, and then I just put the quantity. And so every time someone purchases one, it just reduces that quantity by one, and it keeps it available for sale. Or they could buy 10 at a time if they want. And I can combine shipping, so that's like a win for me because that's a multiple purchase order, and it's a win for them because they can reduce their shipping cost. This was a neat little thing. Lighters are, there's a collectible market for lighters, old Zippo lighters, old lighters that were used like in certain wars. So this is like, this is, I think, more around a World War I era lighter that's in pretty rough condition. You can see the tarnishing and all of that, but it says it's made in Germany. It has a patent number. It's an interesting kind of a push button design, a little bit different than Zippo's. You can see that the ring that would be in there for the filling section is missing, and so I got a lower price on it than I would have, but I still got $60 off of this. And this old thing that maybe is missing a component or doesn't work or looks really ugly, people will sometimes at thrift stores or antique stores put these in bins for like $1. You know, like anything in here for $1. And you pick through, oh, here's a $60 item, and they just don't know about it. They don't know how to research it, or they don't care. A lot of times you'll find that people, if something is ugly or if something is not of value to them personally, they will then assume that it's trash, that who would care about this? Because I don't care about it, neither will they. And like you, if you're going to do what I do for a living, you got to get that idea out of your head immediately. What I have actually learned is quite the opposite. There is a buyer for everything. I mean, a wadded up piece of paper. Somebody might buy that. Why? I don't know. They have their reasons, but it's just a matter of time and finding that buyer, how to market it, how to write the correct listing, a title that's going to catch attention, a photograph that's going to catch attention. So, you know, don't get discouraged if, you know, there are things worth good value out there that other people consider trash. You know, there's that old saying, one person's trash is another person's treasure, or something along those lines. It's absolutely true. This came in an antique store buyout that we did. It took multiple 20-foot U-Haul trucks to move it all. And so we're slowly parting it out. This is everything from tiny pieces of jewelry all the way up to large Chippendale, like glass cabinet display cases and everything in between, tables and furniture. This was just a horse saddle. I don't know a whole lot about horse saddles. I actually got some guidance from somebody on eBay asking some questions about how to measure certain spots so that they would know it would fit their size and their horse. But it only took about a month, $150. Was happy. It was kind of a booger to try to package and ship just because of the size. But otherwise, I was happy to get some of that money back in. And then here's another example of like a scrap or a bulk lot. This is all sterling silver jewelry. Most of it was wearable, but we had a lot of broken pieces in there too. A lot of this came from a large lot, and then also individually picking from just local thrift stores and things. If you get good at inspecting jewelry, knowing where to look to find marks, or just handling lots of jewelry and getting experience over what things look like, I know oftentimes I will know a gold piece or a silver piece before testing it. I'll have a pretty good idea just by the way it feels in my hand, the way it looks. I know how gold or silver tarnish, what that looks like. And I also am familiar with the make, and I've experienced, I did like a thing with a jeweler for a while who created jewelry, so I learned the whole process of like fabricating jewelry, repairing jewelry, soldering jewelry, and polishing and polishing. And so when you do that, you get really good at knowing what a metal looks like and feels like, and just kind of how how sturdy it is, things like that. So that doesn't necessarily help you, but I would just say, if you want to learn about jewelry, there's lots of good videos. The Rusty Reseller channel has information on that as well as others, but it's really about just putting it in your hand, feeling it, seeing what it looks like, and spending time with something. Experience, that's, you know, nothing new to you, I'm sure. But $625 for this. And I'm trying to see, let me roll down here, it doesn't say, 900 grams. So this is a good idea, 900 grams. Oftentimes the average sweet spot for the sale of sterling silver is going to be right around 75%. The money would be around 75% of the gram weight. So for example, if this had been 1,000 grams of sterling silver, the average sale price of that will be about $750, right? Or if it's 10 grams, if you have one piece and it's 10 grams, you know, you may get $7, $7.50 for that piece based on the gram weight. And so, yeah, there we go. Hope that helps you guys. That's just a few things that have sold. I do this full time. I think right now I'm operating at about anywhere between a $36,000 and a $38,000 every 90 days is about what this eBay store that I'm showing you does. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying like that's a full-time job, you know. So for any of those who are not sure if they should go into this part-time or full-time, if you have any kind of nervousness about selling on eBay, I can tell you, like, you know, if you put a lot of work into it, you can make a full-time living. You can do that. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of going out and looking for things to sell in the right places. But I have years of experience. I didn't start like this overnight. I did it part-time for a long time. So anyhow, that's it for today. Hope you guys are well. Hope you have good luck and find some really cool treasures soon. Take care.